Hello, Jonathan Swift here. As you know, this is a rather ad hoc, very special occasion for the YouTube channel, and I just wanted to say that there is absolutely no map involved whatsoever. We have no idea where we're going with today's broadcast, so I do hope that you will be forgiving in terms of what is happening here today. I can confirm that we are definitely doing something, and that there will be a map available eventually one day after it's all done. So until then, I wish you the very happiest of watching, and I hope that you do have some questions, because there are people who may or may not be able to answer them later on. Again, all very exciting. Yes, so yes, all right. I mean, tell I've got to stop talking now. So I'll be around when you need me. Until then, enjoy the show. Hello everybody and welcome to today's show. I see I have a can here that's in my shot. It's not product placement. I promise. Okay, I cannot remember being this excited in a very long time. So hello to everybody. To see you all here. It's absolutely fantastic. I really do appreciate seeing you all here for this very ad hoc stream. You know, I was sitting this morning actually, busy going through all of the bits and pieces that I had to do, and I suddenly realised we should have a video to celebrate the end of this Kickstarter. It's the first one that How to Be a Great GM has ever run. It is particularly successful. It's done exactly what we wanted to do, and I wanted to share it with you. So we've still got, if I go to the website, if I go to the campaign website, so let's just go there quickly. If I go there, you'll see we still have 29 minutes to go. So I thought in the next 29 minutes or so, I'm not sure how their clock works, because I'm fairly certain I launched it on the half hour. But anyway, maybe I was a bit late. Maybe it took a bit of time to get from Japan all the way across. So who knows? Anyway, we've got 4 minutes left. That number, 1,670 people backing this project. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. So I thought I wanted to take you through some of the bits and pieces that have gone into the production of this, answer any questions that you might have regarding this book or nautical campaigns in general. I mean, after all, that's what this channel is about, is helping inspire and create more options. And then on the sort of the half hour-ish, we'll then sort of watch, and hopefully there'll be fireworks or something at the very least, because it's a monumental occasion for us. So I'm really grateful for you all to be here and to share this. I have my Detective Conan here. I really should get hold of them in terms of sponsoring, shouldn't I? Anyway, I've become quite partial to this, and it's quite warm here in the studio, so I'm going to bring up all the bits and pieces. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of this whole book, all this kind of stuff, then it's probably your first time to the channel, so in which case, welcome to the channel. Let's see, we've got that. Let's bring up the chat so that everyone can see what's going on in the captain. I just missed the weirdest what? Let me just go over there. You just missed the weirdest guy. He had crazy hair. Really? I didn't see anyone in the studio. It's a very small studio. Anyway, so yes, some familiar names I'm seeing in chat again. That's absolutely wonderful. Love to see you all here. You cannot know what it is to be a creator and have people that you see time and time again popping up in your chat. It really does make it all worthwhile. I must admit, it really does. So I really appreciate seeing your names there. And yes, Dylan Lowe, it's not Monday. It's a very special day here for me. It's the 31st of October. It's Halloween already. For some of you, it might still only be the 30th. So there we go. I think it's going to be a very interesting one. Now, we're talking about this book here that I wrote and had some amazing input with. This is the book, The Complete Guide to Nautical Campaigns. Now, to unpack it very quickly, because a lot of you, I believe, really have been part of this journey from the beginning. So I don't want to tell you stuff that you already know. The book is or was initially just a little supplement to how to make nautical combat between ships much more interesting and faster than what was presented in the existing 5th edition rule set. And then we started playtesting it, and then a wonderful person got involved, my developmental editor, and I had never heard of a developmental editor before, but that was basically somebody who comes in and then tests the mechanics with you and really tries to unpack everything that's gone into the rule sets to make sure that they really work really well.
And he and I worked together. We had some amazing volunteer playtesters who came in, and you'll see their names prominently in the front of the book. They gave us just phenomenal feedback and really helped shape this book. And then we started playtesting around the actual table, and that increased it even more. And as this Kickstarter has been going, I'm actually going to move this down. You be gone, go down. Go down, there we go, you can sit down there. So as we worked this Kickstarter, things happened, things changed and things developed, which was really, really exciting for me. I mean, as you know, I like to run games that I as the GM don't know the answer to a lot of the questions, so that I can discover those questions as we go along. Yay, cheers, thank you very much for that. Thank you, the N / I think it is. So thank you for that. But yes, so this was an exploration, and it started with the first stretch goal. And the first stretch goal was to release order cards. Now, in the book itself, we didn't want the characters to get bogged down with having to actually sail the ship themselves. That was boring. We really wanted it to be exciting to be a player on the ship, even if you weren't excited in nautical combat, because there's nothing worse than being forced to do something you don't particularly enjoy. So we had all of these orders that you can issue to the crew, who will then enact what needs to happen on the ship. Now, obviously on smaller ships, if there isn't a crew, then it is up to the players to then go ahead and do that. But on larger ships, it's up to the crew to enact the orders that are given by the PCs. But we started adding orders and adding orders and adding orders, and we now sit at 78 orders. There are 78 standing orders which can be given. More, wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Let me go and I can't see the name properly. But the N7, I really do appreciate that. Thank you. So we started to think, how do we navigate these? So we designed these order cards, and I have printed them out here. And so this is what they look like. I've put them into these card holders, you see. So the color doesn't come out very nicely on the camera because, of course, the green screen effect is applied to the camera. So these cards are quite vivid, front and back. This was something that the backers actually told me how to do, was how to make it that when you print the cards front and back page, you then get them automatically with a nice little back, which of course you can see as a mirror of the actual cover. So there are 78 of these orders. So what that means is you can now have a player who goes, okay, I'm the bosun. I'm going to get all of the bosun orders, because this is mixed. This is all mixed. So I'm going to get all of the bosun's orders. I'm going to order this, I'm going to look at what the bosun can do. And something that we were very conscious about was we wanted every role on the ship to have some kind of attack options, some kind of repair options, some kind of buffing options, and then some kind of movement options. That didn't always work out, but we did try that. And so everybody's got something to do every single round if they so choose. So we made all of those. And as I was writing these out for the cards, I was realizing, hang on a moment, if I change it in the text in the book, that's better. So it was a wonderful evolution that happened. And we then said, oh, well, ports are a big thing in the book. You can attack a port. There's rules on how to attack ports and harbors and lay siege and bombard ports and things from the ocean and the like. So we added in some port orders. So there's just so much that came out of just designing the cards for the first stretch goal. And what was really cool for me was seeing this happen. And then the second stretch goal, everyone voted, and it was like, we want more ships. It's like, well, you're getting a lot of ships. No, we want more. So we ended up with 33 ships, so 3 ports and then 30 ships themselves. The ports are statted also in terms of fitting in with the general mechanics. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to attack ports and things now as well. And well, I see, Sam, you're dropping in the chat that Reaper Bones 5 has a pirate ship mini. I couldn't see the ship mini. They've got some amazing minis in terms of sharks and aquatic stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, go and have a look at that. Reaper Bones. I would be a Reaper Bones collector if I had space. Maybe when I get to the UK I can start that collection, but who knows? Who knows? So there we go. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to do. Now, we have started to get the artwork to come in, because that was the whole point. Was to pay for artwork for this book, because it got to 120 pages long, and we said, no, we need pictures. So we started to commission artwork, and artwork started to get quite expensive. So that was okay though, because that was what the Kickstarter was about. So I'm going to show you some artwork. I'm going to show you the first artwork in color that we have officially purchased for the book. So where are we? Okay, no, those are the cards. Sorry, that's the right color of the cards, by the way. That's the right color of the cards. So if you want to have a look at that, attack cards are red, buff cards are sort of blue, green, movement cards are blue, and then repair cards are brown. Port cards are a sort of lime green color, and then I see someone's put on a comment about, oh, let's put on all 33 ships and have a mega battle. There's rules for how to do that in the book. There's a fleet admiral that gets brought into power. The fleet admiral has certain responsibilities. There's even an oath that the captains have to make before the fleet admiral in order to be able to join that fleet. And then the fleet has fleet actions which could be taken and can be issued by the admiral. If I look here, the first one that comes up here is called retreat. It's an order by the admiral. The admiral orders the fleet to retreat. This is not a controlled disengage, another order, but a full-on rout of all the ships in the fleet. For every 10 ships in the opposing fleet, roll 1d10. That is the number of ships lost to capture, damage, or navigation from the fleet that has just retreated. All remaining ships are assumed to have fled the combat and are now at sea and must be tracked and found using normal rules for finding ships on the ocean. Again, there are rules for that. PC ships are assumed to have escaped but suffer 8d10 hull damage. So there are fleet rules. There are fleet rules in there, and there are rules for what you can and can't do as a fleet and things like that. A fantasy Trafalgar, that could be spectacular. That really could be spectacular. Now I'm going to look at some of the questions here because I've been talking too much. We're going to talk about artwork, but let's just look. I just want to keep a very close eye on the actual Kickstarter. 18 minutes to go. So by my count, that's at about 10:35 in the morning for me anyway. So let's see. We've reached all the stretch goals. So there's nothing left. It's just pure awesome artwork that we're going to be getting. So let's talk about some of that artwork. Before that, I am going to go to some questions. So what happens if you can't back the book? Now, I know that I've got a few emails from people saying, oh, Kickstarter won't accept my credit card, or there's this kind of issue, or there's that kind of issue. Do not fear. The book will, of course, be available on our website, www.greatgamemaster.com, along with the complete guide to epic campaigns. You could get that one already. So that's on our website. That will be available hopefully the end of January for you to then order. So you can go and pick up a hard copy of this book in January once it's launched. The Kickstarter backers are not going to get the book before January either. That is how long the process is going to take to finish building the book in terms of putting in imagery, because the writing is finished, but in terms of putting in all of the imagery and all of the layout and that kind of thing, and then sending it to printers and getting proofs back and all that kind of stuff. So it is a process. So you'll be able to buy the book, you'll be able to buy the PDF. Why would you want to back this rather than waiting for that to happen? Because when you back it, you get every Kickstarter stretch goal, all of that you get as part of your backing. If you don't back it, the cards, for example, the maps, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, all of that sort of thing, you'll be able to add on to your purchase. This is just a way of sort of saying thank you to the backers and the Kickstarters for that. Now, if you pre-ordered the book, so if you were part of the group, there were 78 people who pre-bought the book. So we did a thing before Kickstarter where you could buy the PDF beforehand. And you really want to get a hard copy book or something along those lines, we are counting you as a backer. So you'll get all of the stretch goals along with everything else. Your name will go into the book as a backer. And so it's going to be, you don't have to worry about that. You need to send me an email and say, I would like a hard copy. I add you to a list that I've got going of all of the pre-sale people who have upgraded their pledge. That upgrade, we will then send them an invoice just to offset the costing if you've upgraded. Now I see Neil, ACP O'Neill, $20. I am so grateful. Really, I am. I truly am. I really appreciate that. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're sitting at the moment. What I thought was a lot of fun was, in terms of the artwork, one of the things that we did just to say thank you to everyone for reaching 100% was we released a map. Now I went to Wonder Draft, and I made this map. And I said to the backers, I said, all right, so I've got this map. Do you want it with names or without names? And this was my first experience of what it was like to be a Kickstarter, because it was evenly split. People went, we want it with names. People said, we don't want names at all. And most people said, well, we want both. We want to have it with names and without names. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll do it with names and without names. How are we going to do that? So jumped on over to, my platform of choice. Here we go. So there it is. We're in World Anvil. No doubts about that. So here is the map. This is one of the port towns. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. No, there's still more map. Zoom out some more. No, there's definitely more map. Zoom out some more. Still more map going on. Zoom out some more. Okay, there is pretty much the full extent of the map. So this is an archipelago that I put together for the backers, and it will be available on our website for you to unlock if you so choose. Lots of different locations, lots of different hideouts and things. And then people said, well, because we want names and we don't want names. So here it is without the names. Then I'm going to go in here and say, okay, well, let's add in the location names. Let's undo the location names. This will take a while. There are a lot of location names pinned in different colors. Look at that. Oh, my computer's struggling. It's like, what are you doing? Why are all these pins here? These are all locations that I plugged in for the guys on this map in different colors. Green means it's kind of safe. Yellow means it's definitely dangerous. Red means you shall die if you go here. And blue is usually a descriptor. So let's just zoom in on that. Bay of the Beard, it's called. Reeds that appear more like hair than plants give the bay its unusual name. It provides an excellent harbor. So, okay, cool. So what's next door to it? That is the Garan Ilias, the small jungle. A joke by the cartographer Jonathan Swift. Garan Ilias is full of veggie pygmies. Garan Ilias, of course, the word means the smaller jungle full of veggie pygmies. So anyway, so we've got location names. So let's go and turn those off because it really hurts the computer. We've got region names. So it's like, all right, well, what are the regions? What are the different regions called? There you can see them, thousands of them popping up. When I finished with this map, Demetrius from World Anvil got hold of me and he's like, how many pins do you need? It's crazy. That was my Demetrius impersonation. I'm working on it. So there's the location. So Barren Island, Wrecked Rough Archipelago, Utali Das Island. So I tried to come up with different names. The Sea of Darius, the Jarek Sea, all those kinds of things. So we've got location names. You don't like those. Okay, and then just give me town names. So here are town names, again with a color coding. So orange towns are dangerous, but okay. Yellow towns are neutral. Black towns are undead or pirates. Green towns are safe towns to travel and visit. And red towns, of course, you will be attacked straight away. So when we go into one of these, here we have Greyport, large human-controlled port with significant dwarf population. So this map is readily available. You can go and grab that. I think it's quite fun to have, and what a pleasure to be able to say, okay, well, you want it with names, you want it without names? Okay, let's do it. We'll just do it. We'll do it that way. So that's something that I really liked about that. Now, that was that. We're still talking artwork. I've got my eye on the countdown clock. We're at 12 minutes now. So, artwork. We found this artist. Now, we obviously have been looking everywhere for artists, and one of our mandates is that we are not approaching artists saying, can you do it for less? That's not our approach. We don't like that approach. We are approaching artists saying, what would you charge us? Tell us. And this is what we will pay you if it's within our budget. And we've got quite varied responses from people. Artwork is expensive. If any of you have ever commissioned artwork, a single character portrait, you can get lucky and get it for $50. You can get a real professional, not a real professional, you can get a different price of $150. So we're asking for complete artworks. And so this is the first piece of art. I'm going to just move it above me. This is the first piece of art that we have officially bought. And I hope you agree, it's evocative. Now, what did we want the artwork to do? Most of the ships in this book are custom-made ships. Yes, there's a brigantine and a sloop and a galleon and... No, that's it. Those are the regular human ships from the 15th to the 17th century. We kind of blur the lines there. It's fantasy, right? So for those ships, we don't need more artwork necessarily. We're still getting some done, but we don't need more artwork for that. We want artwork for the unique ships that we are designing for each of them. So that's where the commissions will go primarily. So here it is. Okay? Here it is. Look at the detailing, the little fish, the little shells, the treasure chest, and then as I pan it up, we get to see this beautiful wrecked ship. To me, this is so evocative. It is so inspiring. We've got this wonderful rib cage for a figurehead happening on in there. We've got hammerhead sharks sort of swimming around. I saw this piece of work and I went, I want that for the book. I think that is absolutely stunning. So this was done by an artist. I'm not going to insult him by trying to pronounce his name. He's from Poland. His credits will be in the book, so if you want to find more artwork from him, you can go and grab that there. But I was just blown away by this. I was like, that's what I want. I like that. I think that's pretty. And it just evokes adventures straight away. It's like this treasure chest just lying here with the gold open. I think that's a mimic. I think it's a mimic clamshell or something. I genuinely do. So for me, that is what I really, really, really appreciate about about this whole project, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's an amazing project to be given the leeway to do as I not as I want, because that's not true. It's the leeway to do as I would like to do, to the best of my ability. Sorry, I'm just busy looking here for the other ships. I wanted to share with you the other ships. So for me, people say, oh, what's the most exciting part? And it keeps changing. But I have to say, I think the most exciting part has got to be where I send, and you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh. We've got 8 minutes left, so get ready to laugh. This is what I send to the artists as way of explaining what I want. Now, why is it not showing? That's embarrassing. Where is it? Where is it? Let's just do that. This was going to be a dramatic reveal, and then it failed. Okay, I will do this for you. Right, so this is what the artists get from yours truly. When I do a hand-drawn thing on the computer. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't. And then I kind of explain. I'm like, well, actually, this is a thing, and that's a thing, and it's crashing in there, and there's a sinking thing, and there's this kind of stuff happening. So the artists get these from me, and they then have to interpret what the hell is going on. So aren't you lucky that I'm not doing the artwork? There's a certain 3-year-old charm about it. But that's about it. So this will be a gigantic battle between one of the merfolk warships being wrapped and consumed by a dragon turtle which has been enslaved by the aquatic elves. So the dragon turtle sort of wrapped around this merfolk warship. There's a sinking merfolk warship in the background, and then the squadrons of giant seahorses, as clearly indicated by these SE squiggly things, these giant seahorses are attacking from down here the enslaved orcas. So yes, let's just make that go away, shall we? Let's just make that go away. That's the chaos and the crazy. So I give those kind of things to the artists. The artists look at it and go, oh boy, okay, right, that's sort of a thing going on. Is that toothless in the bottom right corner? Well, maybe we should have a copy just with my artwork. No, we definitely should not. Now, I've been sharing his artwork throughout the process, but if you're not part of the backing group, you won't have seen this stuff in the past. Let's just check on time. 6 minutes to go. 6 minutes to go. Okay. So once I have finished handing over those to the artist, The artists then interpret and do their magic. And one of the artists who is illustrating all 33 ships, because every single ship is getting its own illustration, its own battle map, which you'll be able to print out and use as a battle map, courtesy of Dungeon Fog. If you are a Dungeon Fog subscriber, you will also get all of those maps as editable maps in your Dungeon Fog folder, so that you can then take a ship that we've made and then adjust as needed. So the artwork is then translated by Simon. He is an amazing line artist here in Tokyo, very good friend of mine, and boom, that's what he does. A little bit better than my stuff. Now, this is one of the Gnomish ships. No one has seen this before. You guys are the first ones to see it. I'm going to expand it out a little bit. This is a Gnomish Airy. It is a equivalent of a Gnomish aircraft carrier, and they have giant eagles. That's their air force. But the giant eagles need nests, so they roost inside this ship. It's a Gnomish ship, so it's designed to be able to rotate in 360s. And it's obviously got an observation deck and a little observation room at the back for them to, track stars and things. But what I liked about this was that I gave Simon a very rough brief. He's got the descriptions in the book. And then he added in these details, like this eagle carrying this barrel. Now, this is an actual attack that is in the book that winged squadrons can do, where they drop barrels onto enemy ships. But what he did as well was he's got all these eagles coming into land, and I think that's really spectacular. But I love this little garden path. I know you can't see my mouse, but there's this wonderful little garden path that winds through this forest. I think it's delightful. I really, really, really do. So yeah, it's absolutely, absolutely spectacular. So that's what we're ending up with. So what happened there was that we went, well, we can't hide these pictures because they were supposed to be small little thumbnails in the corner of the ship's descriptor. I had a meeting yesterday with a layout artist, and we've completely revamped that entire process. We have literally just changed it up completely. Now, I'm going to switch over to the desktop view because we've got 3 minutes left. I don't think anything happens. It'll just be nice to go, yay, we were there when it finished. This has been an incredible journey, and I must admit, the artwork, getting the artists together, working out the layout guy, it sounds awfully tedious. But our layout guy is a chap by the name of Martin. He went and bought 5th edition books so that he could learn how 5th edition works, so that he could then look at the book and understand what I was talking about. He's already been working on the layout, and yesterday we had our first official meeting. And it's amazing to see how you get all of these different people collaborating. He's like, well, you've done the cards, and you can't really see them, but on the cards there are these little icons. So there's a spyglass for the admiral, and a skull and crossbones for attacking, and ports have got a little harbour symbol. He's like, well, we should translate those into the book. I'm like, well, that's brilliant. That makes absolute sense. Okay, good. So we're gonna do that. So that for me, I love collaboration. If that's not apparent, then I don't know what. But I absolutely adore collaboration. And so that is exactly what this has just been affording me to do, is collaborate. And that's not to say that everything that we've tried has worked. We've reached out to other people. We reached out to some standy miniatures. Those are the ones that are flat and but they still stand upright, and they've got sort of coloured print on them. And we said, okay, well, could we do some ships like that? So we had sort of ship miniatures and that sort of thing. And they went, well, you could, but you're going to need to raise about $20,000 to pay for the cutting and the this and the that and the next thing. And we went, okay, well, that's not practical. We reached out to some dice manufacturers and said, could you make dice that do this or do that? And again, they went, well, we could, but it's $3,000 to make a single die. You've got to make the shape of the die, with all the bits and pieces on it. And then it's, $5 a die or something, unless you order 10,000 dice, and then suddenly it's less. And, so there's those kinds of things where you go, well, this would be really awesome, but we just can't afford it. We just can't afford it. Or it's just not practical, so you've got to sort of couch it there. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting from that perspective to see what's possible and what's not possible. Moving forward, a lot of this is now there's a process that goes on. If you are a backer, you'll get an email from me saying, hey, we need your address, we need your name. Some of the backing options gave you the ability to add in a pirate name. We're going to put those names in the back of the book as random tables. So hopefully you'll get about 400 random names in different tables. You roll a d10, figure out which table you're on, you roll a d20, and you've got your random pirate name. So I think that's going to be quite fun. Again, it's about how do we make sure that what's going into the book is of use and practical value. The only thing I haven't been able to figure out as to how to do that is the open game license, which is very kindly given to us by Dungeons and Dragons. It's available to anybody. But it's absolutely amazing. So that's at the back of the book. That's 2 pages. I can't do anything about that. 30. Oh, it's gone. There we go. Fireworks. Apparently that last 30 seconds was it. Wow, I didn't expect fireworks. That's very nice of Steam. It's like, yay, fireworks. So there we go. Congratulations to everybody who's been a backer. I cannot thank you all enough. 1,077 backers. I mean, that's insane. That's absolutely amazing. I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. Okay, so let's get on to some questions. That stress is off now. Oh, I can breathe. I didn't realize how tense I was. I've sort of been sitting here. I was like, should I stand for today's video? No, that would be very bad. All right, so let's get some questions going in there because I was very bad. I wasn't answering questions, so I do apologize for that. Thank you to everybody for the congratulations. I thank all of you for the support. Okay, now let's see. Terranatum says, I've been trying to create a passage that non-aquatic breathing people can use to drop down to certain depths in the sea to interact with undersea civilizations. Any idea? So far, I have a magical vertical tunnel, lots of airy water, that creates a way for them to drop down to communicate and trade. Terranatum, it's a very good question, and we debated this one as well. Nautical combat is going to be deadly if you don't have the ability to breathe underwater. So again, looking at it, we said, if you've got lots of ships and you've got lots of magic floating around, potions of underwater breathing are going to be fairly common. So that's the route that we took, was we said potions of underwater breathing are like 25 gold each. They last for 10 minutes, because if you need it for more than 10 minutes, suddenly you're doing something more important. We also said that a lot of the territories that will be controlled by aquatic creatures, particularly the merfolk and the sea elves, for example, they know they're going to be trading with the surfaces. So there's a lot of opportunities for them to be able to surface and deal and trade. I like the idea of airy columns where you've got these sort of tunnels. That's quite cool, actually. I haven't added it into the book. The book doesn't really address that kind of stuff. We tried to not overlap with what had already been established in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book, which is a great book to begin with. But yeah. So there we go. I see Dead Aussie Gamer is in the chat. Thank you, Dead Aussie Gamer. You were one of the play testers, very influential. He helped design the Sharkan, which are one of the playable races. So there we are. Jennifer Butcher Elizabeth, thank you for MacElfresh, I should say. MacElfresh. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate you being here. How do potions work underwater? It's a good question. It is a good question. But having lived at the coast for many years, I can tell you that if you put the bottle to your mouth and then you unscrew the cork or the cap with your tongue and then you swallow the liquid without swallowing the cap, it is possible. It is possible. Yes. So there we are. Xander the Green says, thoughts about adding percentile chance of madness for psychic type spells and diseases for necrotic. A percentile chance of madness. There needs to be ways of removing that. We're in the middle of doing Game Master Plays The Adventures of in Middle-earth, and there you have shadow damage, which is similar sort of psychic idea. It's a collective negative thing. They have mechanics for removing that. So as long as you've got a mechanic for doing that, then I think that would be okay, Xander. Josh Schneider, yeah, how do potions work underwater? It is a good question. If the character falls into the ocean and they're busy drowning, I don't have a problem with them holding the bottle upside down, uncorking it, and then drinking from it. Salt water is pretty dense, so I think a potion would maybe sort of stay inside the bottle. I'm not sure. I think that would be the greatest workaround. Again, a lot of these kind of questions, if you're looking to this book to be physically accurate, you might be disappointed. We are dealing with dragons and underwater combat and the like, and we did have to take certain things into account. The developmental editor, Mike Harris from GM's Vault, he and I debated long and hard about a lot of things. And he's like, I want sinking rules. And I'm like, we don't want sinking rules. Now, we've added sinking rules, and they are spectacular. They really make the game a lot more entertaining. So, again, we debate, we look, we argued. That guy, asked the question, I really enjoy thinking of unique takes on tried fantasy races, for example, dwarves, dragons, and goblins, for my writing and sessions. What are some ways you've made more standard races unique? I have, as a confession, I don't particularly like dwarves or halflings or gnomes. And as a result, I usually don't really develop them very much. But I do love elves for whatever reason. And so in my world, I have lots of different elves. I've got your traditional high elves, but they actually have slaves. And they have a slave caste which they believe you are destined for, so you just accept it. So that's a way of making them unique. There's a logic. Well, you are born, you are chosen to be a slave. You are born, you're chosen to be a ruler. So that's how that one is different. Then I've got sand elves, my Sagetti, my desert elves. I've got wild cannibalistic forest elves. I have aquatic elves who are sadistic, nasty creatures that enslave other races to do their bidding because they're bitter that they were cast out of the elvish domains. So it's an interesting space when you start taking on what makes them unique, what makes them different. In the book, we've got aquatic elves, like I said, these sadistic ones as a playable race, and we've got seabolds as a playable race. So a seabold is basically a kobold, but one that lives in the sea. And one of the things that we were wanting to do with the seabold was not overpower them, but to say, well, what have we got going? What have we got going in the ocean to make it more interesting? And we've got a little monster in there which hasn't been fleshed out. I haven't given them statistics and playability stuff. Maybe I'll do that. I'm just going to make a note. Add to book. The Pyranox. Now, the Pyranox are basically piranha-like goblins, which isn't a very far stretch in my opinion. And the Pyranox are just these harassers. So it's all about trying to match and to make that space interesting. Okay, it's Busky I says, when's the earliest we'll get just the raw rules, the PDF? Okay, so backers, it's a good question. So backers, anyone who backed the project at the earliest pledge, the latest pledge, hopefully the surveys have gone out now. I'm assuming that's what's happened. And I will then get all of your email addresses. So anybody who was a backer will be given the option of getting the rules as they are now. So that's the 140-page rule book in Word. It'll be in PDF, which is nice because it does translate the chapters for you. But there's no illustration in it whatsoever. And a lot of the tables are just very, very rough. The ship tables, a lot of them are not exactly working well. There was some translation issues and things, but those will be available so that you could start playing it quite literally as soon as that goes out. I've got to add 2 more ships because that was what the backers asked for. I've got to add 2 more ships and then it's done. And now I've got to add a write-up for the Pyranox because I think it's going to be cool. I think that's quite fun. So that will go out as soon as that's ready. So there you are. Now, hopefully that answers your question. Cameron F says, Guy, does this mean that you don't like short people? Not at all. I don't know. I just find that dwarves, I think I need to spend more time with them. And then I will develop them further. I will. But there's also a question of how far do you develop every single race, before it gets too much. Ronan's, there we go. Ronan 670 Karma says, did you create new classes for the book? Ronan, I started writing a nautical book with one of my players, Simon Oberbrinkmann from Germany. And there we were looking at different classes. Then Ghosts of Saltmarsh came out. They don't have different classes, but they have lots of backgrounds. which can, to a large degree, prescribe your character's journey. With this book, we went, but what if I have a bunch of players who want to create paladins and warlocks and wizards and rogues and things, but also want to have a sea adventure, and they don't want to create a pirate or a marine, or they don't want a class that basically locks them into only doing nautical adventures. So we wrote the entire thing such that you get almost a bonus class when you step onto the ship. So what that means is you might create a fighter, and the fighter's dual wielding or a single wielder and is built as a fighter. The moment they step onto the ship, that player could take up the position of ship's mage. Now, this might sound crazy, but hear me out. Once they've spent 24 hours on the ship attuning to the ship, they are then considered the ship's mage. And what that means is they can issue the orders that are available to a ship's mage. And those orders include, now I'm going to try and find one. So let's see, ship's mage, surgeon, ship's mage. Here we go. Control currents. This is a ship mage power. The ship's mage can summon a strong current that propels the ship forward. This takes a full action, but requires no spell slots or components. It can be performed once per day by a spellcaster of levels 1 through 10, blah, 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 blah. The ship gains 10 feet of movement for the duration of the spell. This is only usable by ships below the surface of the water. So this is for aquatic ships. So what happens is your fighter is now the ship's mage, and they can actually cast a spell that will help move the ship forward, as a mage might do. But the moment they get off of that ship, they're not attuned to anything else, so then they can't cast those powers. So we did that so that when you become the bosun, yes, it does say, you need to make a survival check occasionally, but most of the time the orders that are given are the crew sort of fulfilling those. So in a way, you get classes because you get all of these actions that you can issue, but in another way, you don't get officially new classes. Very long answer for that. So yes. Next question. Could a character with a fear of water be in any way successful in this setting? Well, yes. They would just be traumatized a lot, especially since we have sinking rules. And what those sinking rules are is once your ship has taken a certain amount of damage to its hull, if it's a surface ship, it starts to sink. And it has to make Constitution saving throws. Again, the ship making a Constitution saving throw, but it works. The ship needs to survive. If it doesn't, if it starts to sink, it gets to a point where it reaches its second sinking threshold. And that is incredibly dangerous because the ship is taking on huge amounts of water and starting to sink. Aquatic ships, they're not sinking, they're breaking apart. They are quite literally breaking apart, and that's terrifying as well. So if you're an aquaphobe, you're going to be in trouble. No Terry Pratchett aquaphobe mages here, I'm afraid. Next question. Neo Viking says, is the book only available to backers? No, it's not. Well, no, it is not. It will be available on our website. That's www.greatgamemaster.com as soon as it's available. So that will be from hopefully the end of January if everything goes according to plan. And so then you'll be able to order it there. You'll be able to get the PDF version or the hard copy version. You'll be able to pick up a copy of the cards and the like. If there's enough desire for these cards, we have got a company that's willing to actually make a deck of cards out of these. So we've designed them so they could go to a professional company where they would actually just release a deck of cards. That could be quite fun if there's enough interest. And I think that retails for like $10-15 or so. But there is the PDF version which you can print and play, and it will work out. So this, by the way, is what the page looks like when you print it out. So I haven't finished cutting out this last page. So but yes, those will all be available online on our website. Go and check those out if you like. There was a question from Angus Boys up there. No, is it to me? Add question. Oh, there we go. Thank you for that. Yes. Always add the word question if you are asking a question. It makes it easier for me to see. Elizabeth Fennerwold says, are there plans for expansion books? Elizabeth, I would be lying if I said no. There is definitely. one of the things that we did with this Kickstarter was we wanted to release books that we felt we would buy. That's the byword of our channel. So when we promote stuff, when we talk about, oh, you should buy, World Anvil or Easy Roller Dice or whatever the sponsor is, we make sure that we want to buy it ourselves. So with the book, we wanted to say, okay, well, how much will we need to be able to make a book that we really like, and also not take months and months and months and months to do it, because that's a lot of time, and we're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So we have now successfully proven, at least for this book anyway, that there is enough support that we would be able to say, okay, I can write the book, I can take the time to do that, that's absolutely great, but then all of the artwork, all of that kind of stuff, which really does take a lot of time, is done by other people, and we know we will be able to afford it. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. So that was something that we were definitely looking into. So the next book, it's going to go to a vote, I think, because, again, we like to give you guys what you want. What we want, I've got books that I have been wanting to do for a long time. The next one is probably going to be aerial ship combat. And we debated including it here in nautical campaigns. We really did. We spent weeks going, we should, no we shouldn't, yes we should, no we shouldn't. And it was like, well, is there enough for another book? I think there is. I definitely think there is. There's some mechanics that I want to resolve, especially height differentials. If you're a ship above and you're attacking a ship below, all that kind of stuff. So I think that is definitely something to bear in mind. Is that what we will look at? Turkey Sloth, your question, is this going to be an hour or longer? We're going to restrict it to an hour, because I've now got to go and make sure that what's supposed to be happening is actually happening. So yes, I think that's probably the next book that we're going to do. I did have another one that I wanted to do for players, and I mean, there's just so much stuff out there. But it will be opened up to questioning. Okay, next up, APC O'Neill says, do surface ships have special below-deck defenses against aquatic ships? They do. They have a lot of options. Straight out of dock, they don't. So an unwary captain will be one who sets sail without upgrading their ship. Part of the book is ship upgrades, and there are multiple options for surface ships to fight against aquatic ships and vice versa. So we tried to make it feel very different in terms of how the ships were going to engage with one another. Aquatic ships are much closer combat. They're 200 foot in range. I actually did it. We had 3 card spaces left on a sheet of 9, and so I did this very quickly. Hopefully it'll show. So these scales, the brown one is for surface, and it's 800 feet to 0 feet. The bottom one down here, the blue one, is aquatic, and that's only 200 feet to 0 feet. So aquatic combat is close. They have different weapons. They have harpoons. They don't use trebuchet or mangonels and the like. It's a different feeling. And they're all about roping and delaying and that sort of. I think it's a different feeling. So, but yes, surface ships have got a lot of things. They've got sort of depth charges. They've got drag chains and a lot of fun things. Okay, I think that answers that one. Tropico Boy says, this is getting me inspired to make a D&D 5th edition expansion to 2. What's your advice? Tropico, I think my first piece of advice, go for it. I've been making expansions for role-playing games since I started role-playing. I went, I wish there were some rules for that. Let's develop that. Let's do this. Let's do that. Odyssey Ahoy, which I mention in the book, is the very first ship book that I was ever part of with my very good friend Glenn Tunge. We wrote it when we were about 14 or 15. And that was expanding 2nd edition into pirates. We wanted to do that. So there was some very interesting sort of spaces there that we've explored over decades, and now finally I've had the opportunity to do it. And get the right people around you. Don't write in isolation. I think a lot of people go, I'm going to write on my own. I don't think that's a good call. I think adding in people will just make it. APCP O'Neill, I'm blown away. I'm really. If you haven't been part of the Kickstarter, I just drop me an email. And we'll add you to the list. I'm so appreciative. I cannot tell you. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, so there we go. All right, so Turkey Sloth, I've answered. We're going to run for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap it up. Vampiric Dark Dragon says, so what happens if a necromancer or death domain cleric captains a ship crew entirely by undead? There's an entire section that deals with undead crew and the necromancer responsible for creating them. As a matter of fact, there's even an undead ship that's involved and included as part of the package. And let's just say that undead crew are great. They really are great in terms of, not having morale, so they're not going to mutiny on you at any points. But at the same time, they don't learn very much, so you can't train them up. And now we've got all of those mechanics for regular crew. The other thing that we had to look at was we said, well, undead, there are a lot of problems that undead bring in the current version of 5th edition, such as being able to create infinitely large amounts of armies and things like that don't require nourishment. So we've offset that. One of the big debates I had, as a matter of fact, with Mike, the editor, was I was like, well, why wouldn't every nation that has a ship then just have undead crew? Sign up before you die that you're happy to be resurrected to work in the navy of your kingdom, and then they'll just use you on their ships. Because one of the fundamental cost things that we worked out was, what are your crew costs every month for your ship, depending on your crew size. And every month, a single sailor will cost you 30 gold pieces as the captain. And undead, it's 0. Added to that, every sailor needs food. So for every 10 sailors, you're looking at 300 gold in salary and 150 gold in food and 10 gold in water or alcohol. So suddenly you're looking at almost 500 gold pieces a month operating costs. Undead take that all away. So why not just go with undead? So we've worked in some mechanics which I think are flavorful, I think they are useful, and I think that they would work quite well into making the campaign feel viable. White Tiger 225 says, I bought the PDF version of your book last minute, fantastic, and said flick it to luxury foods next week. There we go. With that said, what do you think if magical armor actually weakens the impact of more modernized guns in a setting? A kind of arms race between magic and tech? It's a great question, White Tiger 225. This is a long debate. And I was lucky to be in the Samurai Museum the other day, and they were showing us samurai armor that had been built to withstand gunshots, because firearms started to come in, and it was something that they needed to take into account. I would say that magic armor would stop. It would actually work. Non-magical armor wouldn't work against that. My Patreons this month, as a matter of fact, in 24 hours or so, all of the Patreons of the channel, the module that was written for this month, the adventure that I write, is actually it was a request of the Patreons. It's a modern day Fae crossover. So there's a rift that has occurred in the real world, and Fae are pouring through, and so it's Fae versus US Army military type of thing. So yeah, you get that starting to come through. So I think that works. Magic armor versus magic bullet, what would happen? Well, I think then the magic bullet would punch through the magic armor. I think that's where I would take it. Dracone says, which of the monsters you made for the book are you most excited to see readers make use of? We didn't make any monsters for the book. We made a section on how to make your own monsters for use in your game. Again, it was a long debate. Do we pre-generate monsters for you guys in terms of, these giant beasts, or do we empower you to make your own? And I decided that it would be better to empower you to make your own. So there's rules on how do you make a gigantic sea creature, like the one behind me. I mean, how do you make... Yes, there's the Kraken in 5th edition, and it's all very cute and well. But when the Kraken is busy fighting against a ship, it doesn't really hold up, because a ship is a floating castle with tons of armaments and crew and all kinds of things. So a lot of the time we were reworking, and this is a big thing, we were reworking what 5th edition has established and saying, well, that's okay, But when you now add it on the scale of ship combat, you need to tweak it. So if you love a pure 5th edition game, this book is going to grate you. You're going to go, but hang on, wait, why have you done away with movement and feet? And so that's kind of where we're going. So with monsters, I mean, I encourage people to make gigantic undead kraken. I love giant undead kraken. I don't know why. But we've got dragon turtles, we've got orcas, we've got, it's all in there. And so, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Asajeev says, can this work with Cruelian sea campaign setting underwater combat rule concepts in Pathfinder? Cerulean, I would imagine. I'm not familiar with that, Asajeev. People have asked, is it compatible with Pathfinder? You are going to have to tweak a few things. For example, a lot of the orders give crew advantage. I think, and Dead Aussie Gamer can correct me here if he's still in the chat. I see he is. I think that would just translate to a +5 in Pathfinder. So you gain a +5 to your roll. So there are some things like that you'd have to translate. Some of the skills we talk about, the quartermaster, when they're working out the best sailing plans for the ships, they have to make a survival skill. I haven't played Pathfinder 1 in a long time, so I'm not sure if there is a skill called survival or if it was called something else. Anyway, I forget. So there is the man himself, Game Master's Vault. Hola, Game Master's Vault. I've been talking about you. Game Master's Vault is our developmental editor who is pushing us and really making this book as strong as it possibly could be. We're going to end off. We're supposed to end off now, but there's still some questions coming through, which I really like. So there we are. Let's see, where are we going? Game Master's Vault says it would be very easy to convert to Pathfinder 1. He's a big Pathfinder player, so I would take his word for that. So there we are. All right. I don't see any more questions unless there's some specific ones coming through. Again, I really, really, really cannot thank you enough for spending some time with me as we celebrate the final moments of this Kickstarter. We really, really achieved way more than we thought we were ever going to get. There's a question here, Tiger Swan asking, with ship actions, will there be certain actions that will require more than one NPC or PC in order to perform the action, or does it assume each NPC is a super being and can do anything? No, Tiger Swan, there's an entire economy, action economy based off of the orders. Some of the orders or ship's actions are free actions because it's an order. Brace! It's a free order. It's a free action. It's an order though. So the crew are going to be enacting. So think of it more along the lines of the crew are doing something. So generally speaking, if the crew have to do something, the order is a free action or a bonus action on behalf of the PC. Some orders, however, require the PC to do something. In which case, then it will say this is a reaction, it's a bonus action, or it's a full action to take. So it does depend very much on where you sit and what particular order you're giving. So that's how that works. There we are. There's some maths coming through from Cameron F about the advantage roll. I'm always in awe of people who can do that. Let's do a few more questions and then we're done. We're definitely done. Draconi says, are any rules for merfolk as a playable race? Yes, there are. There are definitely merfolk is one of the playable races. There are rules for how to deal with them when they're out of water. We developed a magic item which they can buy fairly cheaply, and then that allows them to walk around on land. Because it was a major issue. We want people to be able to play cool and fun stuff, but we don't want them to get stuck because their race has got a tail, right? I mean, we don't want that. Oh, there's a technical question here. Okay, Angus Boys says, will this be able to be used for older ships like triremes, or is it preferable for frigates and similar? Great question. The orc fleets are principally triremes or biremes or quinquiremes. I love those ships. They are principally those. And we actually have very specific rules for ships that are rowed, that have oars. And I think we've made them quite terrifying. Over long distances, they don't hold a candle to a sailing ship. They can't row 24 hours a day under normal circumstances. A sailing ship can sail in perpetuity as long as there's wind. On the other hand, the oared ships, their ramming options are truly, truly, truly terrifying. So there is that to bear in mind. So definitely included those without reservation. There's some very interesting things there that go on. Maujuan84 says, are there any rules for launching characters or NPCs out of a cannon and have them survive the launching and landing? Launching goblins at enemy ships. There are no cannons in the book. We took our weaponry choices principally from Ghosts of Saltmarsh so that the book was compatible with people who had bought that book already. But cannons also cause major problems with distance. They become a real issue, and I think to a large degree this is about Dungeons and Dragons, and it doesn't matter what setting you're playing it in. Cannons to me feel like a bit of a breaker. So we didn't include cannons. There are trebuchets, there are definitely mangonels and ballista aplenty, and harpoons and things. So firing goblins out of trebuchets and things, there you could do it if the goblin had featherfall, but then there's no point unless you're just boarding a ship. But otherwise, there is definitely height rules. So I think somewhere in the book there are rules on height. So yes, that's there. Anything else? Any other questions? Absol Story of Fiction. Absol Story of Fiction says, can I bring a friendly beholder onto ships? Yes, you can. We have rules for how much space large undomesticated animals take up, because that's a thing that we worked out. We were trying to think, so what's a large undomesticated animal? Okay, so an elephant. All right, fine. And then we were trying to find equivalents for a huge, or huge was elephant, large was a moose, I think. A moose. And then we had sort of fantasy equivalents. A beholder, I think, would probably take up 4 or 5 or 6 cargo slots on your ship. So bear that in mind. I wouldn't want to feed it. Dracone says, any rules for turning groups of ships into a battlefield? I ask because Vikings do this historically, and it sounds like something fun players could try. There are rules for fleet engagement where the ships are treated almost as one entity, as a general rule, with the PC's ship being a separate operator. In terms of turning it into a battlefield, well, you've got all of the battle maps. So you're going to have 33 battle maps that come with this book. That's a lot of battlefields. That really is a lot of battlefields. So, yeah. Does an ogre count as a large undomesticated animal? Vampiric dark dragon, I would have to check, but I think it does. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Oh, Dog of War says, how does wind work? So, Dog of War, wind is quite a complicated thing in the game, and we used it as a balancing act in terms of the ships. If all ships worked best as sailing ships, why would you go oared or anything else for that matter? And so, yes, wind is a major factor. Wind for sailing ships, if you're sailing with the wind, you gain a speed bonus. If you're sailing against the wind, you lose speed. If you're just sailing in a general direction, neither for or against the wind, then your speed is a regular base. Oared ships or paddle ships, because we have large paddle wheel driven ships where golems are busy driving the paddles, they ignore wind. They completely ignore wind. Under the ocean, we have a similar mechanic where we have the water currents, because a lot of the aquatic ships use fins, non-movable fins, which are basically like underwater sails to move around. But then some of them have got flippers, because they're actual flippy, flappy, fishy things. So then they ignore it. So we've tried to balance it out, and we've tried to also keep it racially descriptive as well. So it's like, well, this is this one and this is that one. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So there we are. All right, folks, definitely time to end this stream now. I really appreciate it hanging out with you. As you can tell, I really enjoy answering questions and unpacking and talking about stuff. But yes, we do have to call it an end at some point, I suppose. So I really, really, really thank each and every single one of you, whether you back the book or whether you're just here having a good time. I really do appreciate it. So until next time, which is going to be a while, actually. It's going to be a while because I'm off to South Africa next week to go and see my family. I haven't seen them for 2 years, so I'm super excited for that. I'm going to have an absolute blast. Quite exciting. My sister, she has a boyfriend, a new boyfriend. I haven't met him yet. And she sends me this message saying, oh, I can't wait to see you. Oh, and by the way, boyfriend can't wait to role play with you. And I'm like, I was hoping for a chance to get away from it all, but you know what? Why not? Let's just have some fun. ACP O'Neill, I mean, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Thank you. Anyway, happy Halloween to those of you who celebrate Halloween. I'm tempted to go, Tokyo has this mega Halloween event in a district called Shibuya. And when I say mega, we're talking tens of thousands of people in Halloween costume. This time last year, I was in New York for Halloween in Times Square. That was a lot of fun, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to make sure that all of the Kickstarters now get all of their bits and bobs. So I will be off. Thank you all again. Until I see you, watch the channel for updates, watch Twitter, watch everything, all the channels that we're on. And hopefully you'll get a notice of when we're back. Until then, however, I wish you and yours the happiest of gaming.